So it is no surprise that the people, the Lutyens Delhi that you're talking about, these people do not want any of this to happen. It's certainly not the way it's happening. They would like that if it were to happen, even that credit should go to them. The problem really is that Anna Hazare and his civil society friends were actually very close friends of people who are very close already to the government. The problem is, and I'm referring to the NAC and you know, all the people who basically sort of are part of that little coterie. That coterie does not like the idea that a small subsection of that, you know, their civil society has actually taken a lead. And so to say, they've also actually taken the little feather in the cap that the government was trying to basically hope to use. We were the guys which gave you the Lokpal Bill. Of course, it was done exactly the way we wanted it, but we were the guys. And now look what these guys did. Anna Hazare and all these guys, they came and they spoiled the party. Then comes Ramdev. Now you've got allegations against Ramdev. His method, the color of clothes he wears, the kind of people he has. Now we have basically huge investigations, and I can predict they will find huge impropriety in his finances. They will find that even his ashram is illegal. They will find that he's done huge abnormal deals outside of the country. They might even slap a case of homosexuality against him. So we can just wait and watch. But what you're really seeing, Arnab, today is an authoritarian regime unable to cope with what is happening on the streets of Delhi and the streets of the nation. Well, this is a regime which is not used to being talked down, and that is what you're seeing. You're seeing it in the responses, you're seeing it in the violence and the organized violence that they have basically perpetrated to the police action. You will see more of this. And Sanjay, today I was very disappointed to read that the General Secretary of the Congress, Rahul Gandhi, is in fact suggested a more strident line. So, what does that tell you? I mean, we have to get beyond this idea that all power must rest with the house of Gandhis. This is a democracy, this is a country, this has huge variations on the theme. You cannot try and control this entire thing. And I'm sorry to say, if you're under those delusions, you have to give up and start accepting that people will finally hold sway.
This is actually, Sanjay has put the nail on the head, Suhel. Civil society is civil. One sec. Civil society is civil.
Sanjay's delivered a remarkable election speech.
But Suhel,
which I must congratulate him on. But I think some of the points that he raised, while are valid, they are also self-destroying if not handled correctly. No one for a moment, never have I, or most people, and I thankfully don't belong to Lutyens Delhi, can never afford those places, but no one for a moment is suggesting that what Anna Hazare is doing, or people like him in the future, what they will do, if they are representing issues and civil society, they must be allowed to protest. I'm asking you a more fundamental question. It is true all governments, regardless of color or creed, want to exercise their control and their authority because they are the elected representatives. Now, and this was the same civil society, or some elements of this civil society, or not, remember, go back to the 27th of November 2008. These are the same people, or at least some of them, who came out and lit candles at India Gate, who lit candles at the Gateway of India, protesting against incompetence of governance.
So what's wrong?
But when it came for their time to vote in the general elections, they stayed away. So here's the question. It is all right to protest if you can, and as Sanjay, touched upon, civil society must have a mechanism. And you might argue that no, this is not the time and place. It must have a strategy to also channelize these things. One of my suggestions, which I've often given on your channel,
but Suhel,
parallel to what you're doing, you must force the leadership of every political party to prevent people with a criminal record of getting into politics.
Suhel, all this is long term. All this is long term. All this is long term. Don't you want a Jan Lokpal Bill? No, don't you want a Jan Lokpal Bill? Don't you want someone to assert?
Of course I do.
Don't you want the Prime Minister to be under the ambit of the Jan Lokpal Bill?
I would like every executive in this country, including the President of India, to be under the Jan Lokpal Bill.
So then what happens if the government doesn't want it?
1 minute.
But the government doesn't want it. What do you do? You say status quo.
The point I'm making is...
what would you do?
If you allow me to finish. The point I'm making is, if I were Anna Hazare, I would have stayed the course. I would have continued to go to those meetings, as Prashant and Shanti Bhushan at one time said. If you want those proceedings televised or you don't want them televised, that's another issue.
Yeah.
But I'm saying force their hand. The fact that
how do you force their hand?
And making fasts the demonstrable idiom, you might run the risk of then people saying, oh God, it's another fast.
No.
No one denies. No one denies his import or his contribution.
Question is, Suhel, I'm putting one question out. I'm just putting a question out. Who is civil society? Is civil society only if it sits on government committees? Only if it sits in the NAC? Only if it sits in government-funded committees? Only if they are on the government junkets? Only those people who have government stamps and who are on the government's payrolls?
No.
Is that civil society?
I think Sanjay...
Because then you want civil society on a leash.
I think Sanjay mentioned the point about the NAC. To my mind, the government had outsourced some of its responsibilities to this coterie of jholawalas, for whatever it's worth. The point I'm making is that all of civil society will never be represented by one individual or another. You will have sections of civil society seeking their own representatives.
Okay.
Now whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, we'll come
Prasoon is rebutting you. Prasoon.
I feel again, Suhel, I will say the same thing, that the fact that the voices are important, and I think you're again putting them in bracket. You're trying to, give a certain badge or certain stamp to them. I'm saying whichever way the voices are coming. And listen, a government should welcome, if the government has right intention, and especially the coalition government, where you can easily, the public pressure can be used very well, that this is the time we have to correct these things. I think what happened in Tamil Nadu would not have happened in a coalition government unless the public pressure was demonstrated. I think it is very important that the public voices create this pressure. And this pressure will come the way it comes. You can't sort of start designing that pressure that it should come in a certain way. It will come the way it is.
I'm sorry. I'm as much a citizen of India as Prasoon is, as Sanjay is, as Arnab is. I have huge issues with Ramdev being my representative on this so-called civil society.
Somebody else may have a right to. Okay. Somebody else may not have an issue.
Somebody who will represent you will be exactly like you. But he's representing some other people, not you.
So hear me out. So therefore, it's not about voices, Prasoon. That argument is self-defeating. It is about the kind of voices which the India of today and the India of tomorrow must be ready to embrace.
Every voice has to be heard.
Exactly. Sanjay is rebutting you again. Exactly. Sanjay is rebutting you again. Yes.
Yeah, the point is, my point is that, eventually it's a matter of leadership. Whoever provides leadership and gets that kind of following, gets that kind of attention. So, I don't think we are going to be able to sit here and say, no, that man should not be a leader, because I'm sorry, in a democratic setup, you just don't have that privilege. Number one. Number two, to try and disregard, or try and basically pull down somebody, particularly after he has built up, for whatever it's worth, a reputation of some kind, or you may find it dubious, 1 crore may find it worthwhile, is really not the business of individuals who come on television shows. The important point is this: there is a person out there who has been able to, for whatever reason, been able to actually, or to actualize the angst of the people, like Prasoon is talking about, and represent the angst of the many other who may not be his followers. That is the subject matter of this debate and what this country is concerned about. That is what we are all concerned about, and you have agreed with that. Now, why are we basically focusing and regressing repeatedly on whether it's Ramdev or whether it's not Ramdev? The point is, you could sit at Jantar Mantar for all your life and you won't have two people coming to see you.
We can't decide that we are fine with the candlelight.
So my point is, you have to focus on what these guys are talking about and say, yes, we agree with the cause, period.
I think, so therefore you're saying that leadership in India must be decided on who has the maximum following. Fair. But let that following be then tested at the hustings. There is an electoral process in this country, or do you want to run a parallel process of determining leadership?
On the other side, news our debate tonight. Suhel, I'm taking a break in 2 minutes. On the other side tonight, this debate is getting more heated.